Hey everyone, welcome back to a new video. Today I am so excited to be sharing with you all the winners of the giveaway that I'm doing in honor of 2 years on Booktube. It is my 2-year Booktube anniversary, so I will be choosing 2 winners for this giveaway, and I will also be doing a Q&A. So we're first going to start off with the giveaway. I am so excited to see who ends up winning. Thank you to each of you who entered. I was really surprised at how many entries there were. And so I put everyone in a wheel. We're going to spin the wheel twice to pick the 2 winners. And let's see who ends up winning. I got my laptop here and I will screen share. So let's see who ends up winning. We'll spin. And the first person is In Search of Wonder. That is Anne from In Search of Wonder. So congrats, Anne, you won. And let's just, my laptop would unfreeze. Let's go on to the next winner. So we'll hide Anne from there and spin again. And the second winner is Booking Through Life, and that is Mary from Booking Through Life. So congratulations to the both of you for winning this giveaway. I am so excited, and just leave a comment down below in this video or message me on Voxer or Instagram, whatever's easier for you, and you will get your prize. And I'm so excited. So congratulations, Mary and Anne, for winning this giveaway, and thank you again to each of you for entering. I'm just so honored that so many of you are, around and watching my videos and cared to enter. Thank you so much. So let's go over the Q&A now. And there were so many questions, so many great questions. I always struggle to come up with good ones for any kind of Q&A. And I really like the questions that you all asked, and there are over 30. So I do want to answer all of them. I will try to be as brief as I can. I definitely ramble, nothing new here. So we're just going to go through them in no particular order. Let's start off with Casey, and she asks, what's your favorite thing to cook? So for me, I don't have like a specific food item that is my favorite thing to cook, but my favorite meal to cook and to plan for and to just, put my heart and soul into, I guess, is the Thanksgiving dinner that we do at my house every year. It's very special, and I just have such joy whenever I make the Thanksgiving meal. And it's kind of become a tradition that my sisters and I kind of take over and prepare the food. And it's usually roughly the same menu every year with a few variations. So of course we have turkey, and I love making turkey so much. I love to do roasted root vegetables. So carrots, parsnips, sometimes regular potatoes, sweet potatoes, and just a bunch of different food items as well. Mashed potatoes, because we love meat very much. We are Romanian. We also have at least another meat item. So it'll be like pork tenderloin or chicken, but what we do is we make apple and Gouda cheese stuffed chicken breast, and it is delicious. So good. So I don't know. There's just something about the Thanksgiving meal that I love to cook, and even more than Christmas. There's just something about it. So it's a very long-winded answer, but Thanksgiving dinner is my favorite thing to cook. Casey also asks, what is my favorite thing that I've ever colored? And for this, I kind of had a hard time because I've colored a lot in the past, but my current favorite, and it also depends on the day that you're asking, but my current favorite is from the Country Kitchen Charm Creative Haven coloring book. And it's this page that I did here. That's my current favorite coloring page. But again, if you ask me tomorrow, it could change. And I'm generally slow with coloring. I don't finish a lot of pages within a certain time frame. So yeah, I'm very slow, but that's my current favorite. She also asks, what's my favorite puzzle I've ever done? And for this one, again, it depends on the day that you're asking. There are so many puzzles that I've done that I just love. And I'll try to find some pictures I have from a previous video I filmed kind of showing the puzzles that I've done that are glued. There are a couple in there that I would consider favorites, but I think there's one that currently really screams favorite for me right now. And it is this barbershop puzzle. And again, if I find a picture of it, I will put it on the screen, but I might have a picture of it completed and glued. This one is a 2,000 piece barbershop puzzle, and just the colors and the vintage feel to it. It's just such a favorite of mine. It is so beautiful. But again, I have so many other puzzles that I would consider favorites, and it depends on the day that you're asking. So, but either way, this is currently my favorite. And Casey's last question is, what is your favorite poem, and can you please read it to us? My favorite poem, I would probably say, is The Lady of Shalott, and it's a bit long, so I'm not going to read the whole thing, but there are definitely other poems I love. There are some by Robert Frost that I really like. There's one that he did, and I don't know if it's called October, but it's about October, but there's that one. And then I also love this shorter one by Emily Bronte. I think it's called The Night is Darkening Round Me. I'll see if I can find it. This one is on the shorter side, so I will read it. It says, "The night is darkening round me, the wild winds coldly blow, but a tyrant spell has bound me, and I cannot go. The giant trees are bending, their bare boughs weighed with snow. The storm is fast ascending, and yet I cannot go. Clouds beyond, clouds above me, wastes beyond, wastes below. But nothing drear can move me. I will not, cannot go." It just reminds me of Wuthering Heights and, the fact that she wrote it and everything. I really like that poem. And I'm also obsessed with the "'Twas the Night Before Christmas, went all through the house, not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there." I probably butchered the words there, but that's another favorite. My lovely friend Amy from Amy of Hearthridge asked a few questions. The first one is, what childhood books or experience do you remember really making you an avid reader? And I believe Tiffany from Beautiful Minutia asked a similar question. She asked, what's the earliest book you remember reading or having read to you and loving? So just some childhood books, I guess. I'll be honest, I wasn't a huge bookworm as a kid. I really didn't fall in love with books until I was maybe 11, 12. As a young child, I was just very hyperactive, and my mom had no energy to read to me. She had 4 kids under 5 years old, and it was just chaos. So I didn't really get into literature and, reading for fun until I was a bit older. But I do have a few books that I feel got me into reading. They're definitely books that I think inspired my love of fiction, and particularly historical fiction and Christian fiction. So this first one here, actually these first two, I got from book fairs when I was in grade 6, and they really, really just sparked this interest in me for the Holocaust and World War II fiction and all of that. The first one here is The Hidden Girl, A True Story of the Holocaust, and this is by Lola Rain Kaufman with Lois Metzger. Metzger. And this one, like I said, I read in grade 6, and I just loved this book so much. It's very, very special. And then a similar story, this one is called Trapped in Hitler's Hell. A young Jewish girl discovers the Messiah's faithfulness in the midst of the Holocaust, by Anita Dittman with Jan Markle. And this one I actually had written in here my name and grade 6. So this is another one, and this is also copyright 2008. So these were fairly new releases when I read them, but they just sparked such a passion in me for historical fiction and particularly World War II stories, which is why they will always have a very special place in my heart. So those 2 books definitely sparked a love of reading for me. But there is one series in particular that my mom found for me at a garage sale, and I was 11 years old, and I read them so quickly. I was so obsessed, and I really credit these books, this series in particular, as the books that made me a bookworm and made me fall in love with stories. And it also introduced me to Christian fiction. And I don't think I could read these now. I would probably die of cringe, but they are so special. I will never get rid of these. And it is the Christy Miller series. So I have books 1 to 4 here by Robin Jones Gunn. And so the covers are very, very 90s, very cringe. We have this one here, Summer Promise. And then we have books 2, 3, and 4. So this is book 2, and this is book 3, and then book 4. And then I have these collections of like book 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we have here volume 2, which is book 4, 5, and 6 with awful green font. So yeah, I don't know what's up with that colored font. But then we have volume 3, which is books 7, 8, and 9, all in one volume, and the font is orange. And then the last volume is books 10, 11, and 12, and the font is purple. I was obsessed, absolutely obsessed. And then This huge book has 3 books in it, basically the college years, and the 2 main characters, Christy and Todd, and it's, you know, contemporary romance. Contemporary, but 90s, early 2000s. I could not read those books nowadays without dying a little inside, but they are so nostalgic for me, and they meant so much, and they really just sparked a love of literature in me. Amy also asks, if you could meet 2 dead and or living authors, who would it be and what would you ask them? This one, I literally cannot just pick 2. That is way too difficult. Oh my gosh. See, because I have different reasons for wanting to meet different authors. Like I want to meet Dickens, and I want to meet Anthony Trollope, and I want to meet, you know, some modern authors even. I want to meet Amanda Dykes, who's like one of my favorite historical fiction authors, and I want to meet Tamara Alexander. And going back to classics, I want to meet Jane Austen, I want to meet Elizabeth Gaskell, I want to meet so many people, Arthur Conan Doyle, and just all these fascinating humans. I want to meet them all. But if I had to choose 2, and this is how I feel currently, this could change, but I would probably say Jane Austen for sure, just because she just seems like such a unique person, and just I want to pick her brain and gain insight into her views on marriage and things like that. And it's just so interesting to me how she wrote romances but never got married herself, and just so many questions that I would ask her. And I would also want to know what her favorite love interest is from her own books, which of the male love interests is her personal favorite, who she would go for. I'm just so curious. So there's that. And then maybe Elizabeth Gaskell, just because she seems like everyone's aunt. She just has this quality about her, and I can see it in her writing, and just doing some research on her, the way that she's been described. I would just want to know her views on so many different things, whether that's, you know, spiritual or just her views on morality and things like that. So maybe Jane Austen and Elizabeth Gaskell. And Amy also asks, if I could travel anywhere book or author related, where would I go and what would I see? So again, everywhere. I'd want to go to all the houses that these authors lived in England, and I would want to go to Beatrix Potter's house. So maybe that would be a big one, where Beatrix Potter lived, and also where the Brontes lived in Yorkshire. I would love, love, love to visit. So we'll go with those 2. Elizabeth of the Inglenook asks, if you could give people a list of must-reads, what are a few you would tell others to read? This one was difficult just because everyone's different, everyone has different reading tastes, but I did try to pick a list of books that I think would appeal to many people. And even if it's not within genres that people enjoy, I just think that these books have such merit and are must-reads in my opinion. So we have Little Women. Please don't come at me if you disagree, but Little Women is a must-read. Anne of Green Gables, North and South by Elizabeth Gaskell, and Then There Were None by Agatha Christie, and The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis. Those are my must-read books. She also asks, if you could live in any fictional town, village, etc., where would it be? And for this one, I can't just choose. I can't just choose one. It's too hard. I feel like everyone says Middle Earth, but Middle Earth is just incredible. Rivendell, the Shire, it's just all amazing. And it's not really fictional, but I would love to live in the English countryside, and particularly in either Cornwall or Yorkshire. I don't know what it is about those places, and maybe I'm just over romanticizing them in my mind, but I'd love to live there and just, I don't know, live where some of my favorite authors have lived. But also New England, and in particular, I would say Concord, Massachusetts. In a perfect world, if we could have a cute little town and I could live at Louisa May Alcott's house, it would just be a dream. So that's my answer. And she also asks, who are your character kindred spirits, the ones you relate to the most? I've always felt like I struggle to find characters in books that I feel an instant connection to and, you know, feel like that is me, I am that character. And maybe it's because of my personality type. And if any of you are familiar with the Myers-Briggs personality types, I am an INFP, and we are interesting. And I think part of being an INFP is that we feel like we just don't really relate to a lot of people. I don't know. It's weird. It's really weird being an INFP. Yeah, I don't know. It's just so hard for me to find characters that I feel, you know, I relate to and is a character kindred spirit. I've always wondered, like, if any of you, you know, have been watching me and kind of gotten to know me, do you think I remind you of any character from a book? Because I just can't think of anyone. Then we have Border Collie in a Library. That is a great channel name. And she asked, a season of life book. Do you have a book that you've loved and on a reread, it didn't live up to the first experience, or the reverse, a book you felt lukewarm about the first time, but it blew your mind on a reread. Or a book that no matter when you pick it up, it's 100% the absolute best experience ever. So I do have answers for all three. In terms of a book that I loved for the first time and then on a reread, it didn't live up to the first experience, I would probably say Around the World in 80 Days by Jules Verne. And it's just because I'm a mood reader. And if I make myself read a book when I'm not in the mood for it, it just doesn't evoke the feelings that it normally would if I read it when I'm in the mood for it. So the first time I read the book, I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. The second time I kind of forced myself to read it and I just wasn't in the mood, and I ended up giving it 4 stars. I still really liked it, but it just didn't live up to that first read experience. And I forget the book's title. It's by Connie Lynn Cassette. It's the second book in the Out from Egypt series. I think it's like Shadow of the Storm or something like that. This book I initially gave 5 stars when I read it the first time. The second time I gave it 4. And it's just because certain things about the romance really bothered me during my second read of it, but still a great book. I love Connie Lynn Cassette's writing. It just didn't live up to that first initial wow experience I had when I read it. A book that I felt lukewarm about the first time and it blew my mind on a reread. And this one, I didn't feel lukewarm about it. I did really like it, but the second time I read it, I fell in love. And that is Persuasion by Jane Austen. And I'm so glad I reread it. And I would also say Northanger Abbey. The first time I read it, I was kind of like, yeah, this was good. The second time, I loved it. So those 2 books by Jane Austen. And then a book that no matter when you pick it up, it's the absolute best experience ever. That goes to Little Women, Anne of Green Gables, A Voice in the Wind, basically the whole Mark of the Lion trilogy by Francine Rivers. So those ones are always just amazing. And then she also asks, fast versus slow reading, do I have a preference? This one I feel like is a whole video to answer because I have actually been thinking about it a lot and thinking about my reading habits and if I want to change anything, and just all the, controversy about book consumerism and how people are, reading too fast, but they're not absorbing what they're reading, and they're just reading to tick off a goal on Goodreads and all of that. And I've just been so overwhelmed with everyone's opinions on, oh, you should read fast, or you should read slow, or you should read like this, you shouldn't read these types of books. And now I'm going on a tangent. That's not the question. The question is, what do I prefer, fast versus slow reading? But again, my answer is so complicated because I don't really know. So I wish that I could be a slower reader. I wish that I had the patience to just slow down, read one book at a time, and just sit with that book. And even though I personally feel like when I read, I get enough out of the book. I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything big because I do sit on my thoughts. I actually type my thoughts out when I'm reading a book. I have a Word document for every month and I type up my thoughts about what I've been reading. And I just, for some reason, I can't slow down. I can't. I, pick up a book and then I pick up another book. And then before you know it, I'm reading 6 books at once. And it's just how I am. I've been like this for the last few years and I don't mind it. I really don't. Even though something in me is kind of slow down, just sit with one book at a time, absorb it. Again, this is a whole other conversation. So the short answer is fast reading. That is my preference, although I wish it wasn't. Then Daryl asks, what's your single favorite Christian novel, standalone or series of all time, and single favorite Christian nonfiction of all time? I don't have a favorite Christian nonfiction just because I don't read a lot of it, and there are different reasons for that. And I struggle with nonfiction in general, especially if it is spiritual nonfiction. So besides the Bible, I don't really read Christian nonfiction. But my single favorite Christian novel, and it is actually a series, is the Mark of the Lion trilogy by Francine Rivers. I will never find a book or series, I think, that will top it for me, just because of how many times I've read it and how strong of a connection I have to the story. I can't explain it. I really can't, but that is my favorite of all time. Tiffany from Beautiful Minutia asked, what is a Bible verse that has been particularly meaningful to you this year? There are definitely many, but for this year in particular, and just in general, it's kind of my motto, I guess. I try to remember this as much as I can. It is Joshua 1:9. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be frightened and do not be dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. Then we have Kate, who asked, as a fellow nurse, I'm wondering how your new job is going and what area of nursing are you working in? It's going well. It is stressful. It's an adjustment, but I am enjoying it and I have a great team that I'm working with, so that's always wonderful. And I work in primary care. I'm actually at a clinic, so it's just a family doctor's office, but there are 17 family doctors, so it's quite busy. And yeah, it's going well. It's just overwhelming. It's my first career. I basically just started my career, so the last couple months have been very stressful, but everyone is willing to help. I'm just very, very grateful, and I do think this job is a big blessing. So it's going well. I really love primary care, much more than bedside nursing, just my personal preference. I don't think hospitals are for me, but yes, I really, really love my job. This video is already getting pretty long, so I will try to go as fast as I can through the rest of these questions. We have a bunch from Tales and Treats with Tay. She first asked, how is your new job going? I've already answered that. And then, what is your salvation story? And I believe Nikki from Writing for Jesus also asked this question too. So for me, and I feel like a lot of people can probably relate, I don't have a specific momentous occasion where I can pinpoint that is the day that I was saved, or that is the day that I, became a Christian or whatnot, just because I did grow up in a Christian household, going to church all the time. And it was a very good environment in a sense. My mom was, really, really good at raising us to know God and love Jesus and everything. But I think maybe around 12 or 13, I came to understand my relationship with God for what it is, and that it's personal and it's not just a religion. And I think that just my early teen years kind of molded me into the Christian that I am. And I did get baptized at 14. So just that time frame, I would say, is kind of how I came to know God personally, and, through personal prayer time and everything like that. It was never this big moment where I have this, big, powerful testimony. I definitely have siblings who do have testimonies that are very, very encouraging, and they've gone through some stuff, and God has brought them out. But for me, it's more I've kind of always been in the process of coming to know God, and then it just happened that I finally came to understand. So that's my story. It's not really a story. I apologize if you hear any noise. We have the garbage truck coming and collecting garbages, so lovely, lovely noise. Anyways, so we have, what other hobbies do you do? And Nikki also asked this question too. So Tay and Nikki asked, honestly, I'm pretty boring. Besides reading and doing puzzles and coloring and baking and things like that, I don't really have any other hobbies, and I'm okay with that. I enjoy just doing little things here and there, and then sitting and spending time with people. And yeah, very simple, nothing crazy. Tay also asked, what do you love about where you live, and would you live anywhere else? I would live in England in a perfect world if I could afford it, and in a perfect world, we'll just say that. I would love to live in England, but what I love about where I live, and I'm in Southern Ontario, is the 4 seasons. I really love that we can just experience them all. I know that over the last few years, it kind of feels like we just go from winter to summer to winter to summer, but I do think we get a good enough fall and spring. And I just really, really love that we can experience all 4 seasons and just make the most of them, if you will. So that's what I love the most about living here. Where have you traveled to outside of Canada? A few states. I've been to North and South Carolina. I've been to Florida, Michigan. I've been to Guatemala, and that was for a 10-day missions trip in 2018. That was wonderful. I loved that country so much. And then I also went to Romania, but that was back in 2009. So not very many travels, but hopefully in the future there will be more. And then she asks, how has your channel changed over time, and what fun thing or opportunity have you experienced because of your channel? Over time, I honestly think it's been pretty much the same. I'm filming the same types of videos in that sense, but obviously there are so many more of you now than there were at the beginning, and I'm just so grateful to each of you for being here. It means so much. And in terms of what fun thing or opportunity I've experienced because of it, just getting to know so many amazing people. That is the biggest opportunity for me, is getting to meet so many readers who love the same books that I love, and it just makes my heart so happy. And also getting to experience different genres and getting to discover a love of Victorian literature, which I never thought I would. And it's because of Booktube, basically. But in terms of fun opportunities, I would say it's all the readathons and all the other channels out there that just provide so much fun to this community. And I love that I was able to do some reading sprints with other channels, and it's just been the absolute best. Lindsay from Books for Christian Girls asks, what is your favorite flower? And I had a hard time answering this one just because I love all flowers so much. I love, love, love flowers. But if I had to pick a favorite, it would probably be the peony. I don't know how to pronounce it, but I will put a picture of it. I love this flower so much. It is so beautiful. We get really big blooms in our backyard every late spring, and they're just so beautiful. I'm obsessed with these flowers. Then we have a few questions from my friend Stephanie. She asks, if you could change anything in Little Women, what would you and what would it be? That's hard. I don't think I would change anything in terms of the plot line or who ends up with who or anything like that, but maybe I would have Professor Bear be a little younger. He's just a smidge too old for me personally, and yeah, just the age difference there, but I would have him be a little bit younger, I would say. I think I would also like to see a little bit more of Mr. March, of the girl's father, but I think it's better that he's not there at the same time. This book is about the girls. It's not about their relationship with their father, but it would have been kind of nice to see more of him. I don't know. I kind of have mixed feelings about that, but that is what I would change. Nothing else. Next question is, how have your reading tastes changed over time? A lot. Up until 2020, I was mainly reading Christian romantic historical fiction, I guess. And now I need a huge variety. I cannot just read that one genre. I get so burnt out. Just in the last few years, I've discovered a love of classics and mysteries and just books that I never thought I would love, especially fantasy. I never read fantasy growing up. Yeah, over the last few years, they've really, really changed. My reading tastes have really changed. I am a lot more picky now. And if you go on Goodreads and see all the books that I read before 2021 and 2020, I gave 5 stars out to everything. If I even liked a book, I would just give it 5 stars. And a lot of those, if I were to read them now, would not be 5 stars. So my reading tastes have changed a lot. Her next question is, what are your top 5 favorite historical books? So I'm excluding biblical fiction for my answer just because I feel like that's a subgenre. But just straight historical fiction, my current top 5, and again, it's fluid. It changes depending on the day and when you're asking. But currently it is To Whisper Her Name by Tamara Alexander, Yours is the Night by Amanda Dykes, The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna, A Place to Hang the Moon by Kate Albus, and The Last Christmas in Paris by Hazel Gaynor and Heather Webb. Who is your favorite bookish couple and why? The first couple that came to mind when I read the question was Margaret and Mr. Thornton from North and South. They were the first ones that popped in my mind. So maybe that's the right answer, but I love so many other couples. I cannot choose just one. There's obviously all the Jane Austen couples. They're all amazing. I love Anne and Gilbert so much. I even love Joe and Professor Bear. I just wish he was younger. Just so many that I love, and I can't just choose one. Stephanie also asks, has God spoken to you through a book or through reading? Many times, and I could probably sit here all day and just explain how God has spoken to me through many different books, but many, many times I felt certain characters would say things that were very wise and that felt very, fitting for the time. And then Stephanie also asks, any tips to make it through these winters? It seems to get harder and harder. We barely got a summer this year. Yes, so being in Ontario, it's kind of sucked. For me personally, in terms of winter, I have just fallen in love with it. And I think what helped is romanticizing it. So literally acting like a child and going sledding and enjoying as many winter activities as I can, knowing that it's the only season I can enjoy them in, whether that's skating, like I said, sledding, and also things like hot chocolate. I can't really enjoy them in summer months when it's really, really hot. So in the winter, I make hot cocoa. I'll make a hot chocolate bar at our coffee table. And it's just the little things, finding little things that are just ways to bring you joy. A couple winters ago, my dad actually set up a fire pit in our backyard and it was freezing outside, but the fire kept going and we roasted marshmallows. We were out in our jackets and our parkas and we roasted marshmallows and had hot chocolate outside, and it was so cozy. We had so much fun. So just romanticize it as much as you possibly can. Melissa asks, are you an animal lover? If so, have you cried over a fictional dog or cat's death? I probably have. I can't think of a specific book right off the bat. I am an animal lover. I'm just not a pet person, if that makes sense. So I love animals. I love when I visit friends and they have dogs and cats. But there is a book that I thought of, and it is Love and the Silver Lining by Tammy L. Gray. And in this one, there are a bunch of rescue dogs. They are just so broken, and you know, they need to be cared for and rehomed and things like that. And just the way that they were written about, it just broke my heart so much. So I guess I have probably cried over animals, but I can't really remember. And I don't remember if there was even an animal death in this book, but I did feel very, very emotional about the little doggies. Nikki also asks, who is your favorite actor and actress? And even though I'm not a huge movie person and I don't really watch TV all that much, I would probably say my favorite actor is either Johnny Depp or Robert Downey Jr. They're kind of tied for me. I don't have a favorite actress, but yeah, those two guys are definitely my favorite actors. Penny asks, when did you start reading and loving classics? Honestly, 2020. Right when COVID started is when I started reading them and realized that they're actually awesome. They are amazing, and no looking back after that. We have a couple questions from Kat's Novel Adventures, and Kat asks, do you have a reading habit or ritual? And how much time do you read daily? And is it mainly in the morning or evening? So in terms of my habits, if it's a day when I'm not working, it's always going to be the morning. I wake up, I make coffee, and I plop myself down on a recliner with a blanket and my coffee and earbuds so I can have like an ambience room on my laptop, and I read and I read and read and read, and I pretend I have no other responsibilities until they sneak up on me and I realize actually I do have responsibilities. But yeah, that's my ritual. And if I have to cook or I have to do a variety of household tasks, I will put an audiobook and listen. But for the most part, I am a morning reader. I used to be the complete opposite. I would read every night before bed, but now I'm just too dead at night. So I am a morning reader. Sometimes I will read in the evenings too. Like during the work week, I do try to read in the evening as well. But yeah, that's kind of my habit. Mornings, I sit down and read. And Bobby Sue Davis asks, and this is the last question, besides the Bible, if you could only own one book, what would it be? Can I cheat and say the entire Mark of the Lion trilogy? Because they're all in a box, so we'll just count that as one book. But if I can't have those 3 books, then Little Women. I can't answer any other book. So besides the Bible, that's my answer. All right, friends, so that is it for this Q&A. Thank you so much to each of you who asked questions in the community post. And if any of you have any further questions, I could answer them in the comments below. So feel free to ask. Not that my answers would be very interesting, but thank you all so much for watching. It was a very long-winded video, but I appreciate you all for sticking around. Thank you so much. And I will see you in my next video. Bye.